The morning sun cast long shadows across the muddy waters of the Euphrates River as Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison studied the tactical map spread across the hood of their armored vehicle. The intelligence briefing had been clear but troubling. For the past 3 weeks, coalition forces operating in the Al-Anbar province had been losing men to a single, highly skilled sniper. The enemy marksmen seemed to appear and disappear like smoke, striking with deadly precision before vanishing without a trace. Morrison's SEAL Team 6 had been called in specifically for this mission. The regular Army units had tried everything: sweeps, counter-sniper operations, even aerial reconnaissance, but the ghost remained invisible. Local intelligence suggested the sniper was operating from the marshlands along the river, using the complex network of waterways and reed beds to move undetected. Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez joined Morrison at the map, his weathered face showing the strain of too many missions in hostile territory. "Sir, the boys are ready to move out. We've got our gear checked and the boats are prepped." Rodriguez had been with SEAL teams for 12 years and had seen action in every major conflict since 9/11. His instincts were sharp, and Morrison trusted his judgment completely. The team consisted of 8 highly trained operators, each bringing specialized skills to the mission. Besides Morrison and Rodriguez, there was Chief Petty Officer Thompson, their communications specialist who could coordinate with air support and ground units seamlessly. Petty Officer Martinez served as their medic, but was equally deadly with a rifle. The youngest member, Petty Officer Jackson, was their explosive ordnance expert, capable of disarming anything the enemy might throw at them. Their intelligence came from multiple sources. A captured insurgent had mentioned seeing someone moving through the marshes at night, always alone, always armed with what appeared to be a high-powered rifle. Drone footage had captured muzzle flashes from different positions along a 5-mile stretch of riverbank, but by the time ground forces arrived, there was never any sign of the shooter. The pattern was becoming clear to Morrison as he studied the attack locations. The sniper was mobile, moving along the waterways, using the natural cover of the marshlands to remain hidden. Most concerning was the skill level demonstrated in each attack. These weren't random shots or spray-and-pray tactics. Every shot had been a precise, calculated kill from distances exceeding 800 meters. "What's our approach, sir?" asked Petty Officer Williams, their senior sniper. Williams had been tracking the enemy's movements and believed he understood the shooter's preferred hunting grounds. The terrain along the river was challenging, a mixture of shallow water, thick vegetation, and scattered islands of dry ground. Perfect for someone who knew how to use it. Morrison folded the map and gathered his team around him. "We're going in quiet, using the patrol boats to access the marsh from the south. Intel suggests our target operates primarily at dawn and dusk, using the low light to mask his movements. We'll establish observation posts at 3 key choke points and wait." The plan was methodical and patient, exactly what SEAL training emphasized. Rather than charging in and making noise, they would use stealth and superior positioning to force the sniper into a trap. Morrison had studied every successful counter-sniper operation from Iraq and Afghanistan, learning from both victories and failures. As they loaded their equipment into the Special Operations patrol boats, Morrison couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was different. The enemy they were hunting wasn't a typical insurgent fighter. The precision of the attacks, the ability to evade capture for weeks, and the tactical awareness demonstrated in choosing firing positions all suggested they were dealing with someone with advanced military training. The boat ride into the marshlands took 40 minutes, navigating carefully through channels that were sometimes barely wide enough for their craft. The team moved in complete silence, using hand signals and predetermined routes that would minimize their acoustic signature. Morrison watched the banks carefully as they moved deeper into enemy territory. The landscape was haunting in its desolate beauty. Tall reeds swayed in the morning breeze, creating a natural camouflage that could hide an entire squad if they knew how to use it properly. Ancient palm trees dotted small islands, their roots extending deep into the muddy water. This was terrain that had sheltered fighters for thousands of years, from ancient Mesopotamian warriors to modern insurgents. Rodriguez guided their boat to a concealed landing point on the eastern shore, where thick vegetation provided cover for their insertion. The team disembarked quickly, each man moving with practiced efficiency to establish a security perimeter while their equipment was unloaded. Morrison checked his watch. They were exactly on schedule. The first observation post was established on a small rise overlooking the main channel. Petty Officer Williams set up his sniper rifle and began methodically scanning the area through his scope, looking for any sign of enemy activity. His weapon was a .338 Lapua Magnum, capable of precise shots at extreme range. If they encountered their target, Williams would be ready. Thompson established communications with their command post, reporting their successful insertion and receiving updated intelligence. Drone surveillance had detected movement in the northern section of the marsh approximately 2 hours earlier, but the target had disappeared into the reed beds before a precise location could be determined. The second observation post went up on a small island roughly 800 meters from the first position. Martinez and Jackson took this position, using camouflaged shelters to remain invisible while maintaining visual coverage of the western approaches. Their job was to watch for any movement that might indicate the sniper's presence. Morrison and Rodriguez established the command post in a natural depression that provided protection while allowing them to maintain contact with both observation teams. From here, they could coordinate the operation and call for support if needed. The setup was textbook SEAL tactics, multiple overlapping fields of observation with secure communications between all elements. As the morning progressed, the marsh came alive with natural sounds. Birds called from hidden nests in the reeds, while fish occasionally broke the surface of the dark water. These sounds were normal, but the team had trained to distinguish between natural wildlife activity and sounds that might indicate human presence. Around noon, Williams spotted something unusual through his scope. A small boat, barely visible through the reeds, was moving slowly along a channel about 200 meters to the north. The craft appeared to be a traditional fishing boat, but something about its movement pattern concerned the experienced sniper. "Command, this is Overwatch 1, Williams whispered into his radio. "I've got a small craft moving slowly through the northern channels. Single occupant appears to be fishing, but he's checking his back trail more than his lines." Morrison acknowledged the report and relayed it to the other positions. This could be their target conducting reconnaissance, or it might be an innocent local fisherman who was naturally cautious in an area where fighting had occurred recently. The team would observe and wait for additional confirmation before taking any action. The boat disappeared into a thick patch of reeds, and despite Williams' best efforts to track it, the craft seemed to vanish completely. This level of stealth in moving through the marshlands was impressive and suggested someone with intimate knowledge of the terrain. Morrison made a note of the location and time, beginning to build a pattern of the suspect's movements. As afternoon turned to evening, the temperature began to drop slightly, and the light started to take on the golden quality that photographers loved, but snipers found tactically useful. Morrison knew that if their target was going to move, it would likely be during these twilight hours when visibility was reduced but not completely eliminated. Thompson received an urgent communication from their command post. Another coalition patrol had been attacked approximately 6 kilometers to the east, with 1 soldier killed and 2 wounded. The attack had occurred at 16:47 hours, and the patrol reported receiving fire from across a wide section of marshy ground. By the time reinforcements arrived, the shooter had vanished. This information changed the tactical situation significantly. If the time frame was accurate, there was no way their suspect could have traveled from the marsh where Morrison's team was positioned to the attack site in such a short time. Either they were dealing with multiple shooters working together, or their target was even more mobile than initially believed. Morrison gathered additional intelligence from the attack site through radio communications with the responding units. The shot had come from approximately 900 meters, striking the patrol leader in the head as he dismounted from his vehicle. The angle of the shot and the trajectory suggested an elevated position, possibly a tree or elevated ground overlooking the road. What troubled Morrison most was the precision of the attack. In fading daylight, at extreme range, the sniper had made a perfect headshot on a moving target. This level of skill suggested advanced training, possibly special forces background or extensive combat experience. The enemy they were hunting was not an ordinary insurgent fighter. As darkness approached, Morrison made the decision to maintain their positions overnight. The team had thermal imaging equipment and night vision capabilities that would allow them to continue surveillance during the hours when their target was most likely to be active. They established sleeping shifts to ensure constant observation of their assigned sectors. Rodriguez took the first watch at the command post, his eyes scanning the thermal display for any sign of human activity in the surrounding marshlands. The technology could detect body heat at significant distances, but it was not foolproof in an environment where temperature variations from water, vegetation, and wildlife could create false readings. Around 2300 hours, Martinez reported unusual activity from his position on the island. His thermal scope had detected what appeared to be a human figure moving slowly through the water, approximately 400 meters from his position. The target was using the reeds for concealment and seemed to be conducting some type of reconnaissance of the area. Morrison immediately alerted all positions to go to maximum readiness while maintaining concealment. If this was their target, they couldn't afford to reveal their presence prematurely. The plan required patience and perfect timing to be successful. The figure continued moving through the marsh for nearly 30 minutes, following a route that suggested intimate knowledge of the channels and current patterns. Morrison watched the thermal display as the target moved closer to Williams's position, staying in the water to mask his heat signature while using the natural vegetation for visual concealment. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the thermal signature vanished. Williams reported no visual contact despite having the target's last known position under observation. It was as if the person had simply dissolved into the marsh, leaving no trace of their presence. The night passed without further contact, but Morrison knew they had encountered their target. The movement pattern, the tactical awareness, and the ability to appear and disappear at will all matched the profile they had developed of the enemy sniper. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, but tonight had confirmed they were dealing with a highly skilled and dangerous opponent. As dawn approached, Morrison began planning their next move, knowing that somewhere in the dark waters around them, a ghost was waiting to strike again. The first rays of sunlight painted the marsh in shades of amber and gold as Morrison studied the new intelligence that had arrived during the night. Command had forwarded additional reconnaissance data from satellite imagery and drone surveillance, revealing a disturbing pattern that made his blood run cold. The enemy sniper hadn't just been randomly striking targets. Analysis of the attack locations showed a deliberate strategy designed to draw coalition forces into specific areas of the marshlands. Each strike had been calculated to force military units to respond through predictable routes, creating opportunities for follow-up attacks. Chief Thompson finished encrypting their position reports and looked up from his communications equipment. "Sir, Intelligence is reporting 3 more incidents overnight in sectors Alpha and Bravo. Same pattern, long-range precision shots, no contact with the shooter afterward." Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. While his team had been stalking one target, the enemy had been systematically eliminating coalition personnel across a much wider area. Either they were dealing with multiple highly trained snipers, or their single target was far more mobile than anyone had anticipated. Petty Officer Williams adjusted his position slightly, maintaining his watch over the northern approaches while keeping his sniper rifle ready for immediate use. Through his scope, he had been observing subtle changes in the marsh environment that suggested human activity. Bent reeds, disturbed mud along the banks, and the unnatural silence of wildlife in certain areas all indicated someone was using this terrain as their hunting ground. Movement, 800 meters northwest, Williams whispered into his radio. Single individual in the water, moving slowly through the channel toward the main river. Morrison immediately shifted his thermal imaging device to track Williams's target. The figure appeared as a faint heat signature, barely distinguishable from the background temperature of the water. Whoever this person was, they understood how to minimize their thermal footprint while moving through the marsh. The target paused at a junction of two channels, remaining motionless for several minutes while apparently studying the surrounding area. Morrison realized with growing certainty that they were watching their sniper conduct reconnaissance, possibly preparing for another attack. The question was whether to engage now or continue observing to learn more about his methods. Rodriguez had been tracking the target's movement pattern and noticed something significant. "Commander, he's heading toward the elevated position on grid reference 247631. That's the same area where we lost contact last night." Morrison made a quick tactical decision. "Williams, Martinez, maintain observation, but do not engage unless he presents an immediate threat. I want to see where he goes and what he's planning." The figure resumed movement, gliding through the water with remarkable skill and silence. Morrison had observed many special operations personnel in action, but this individual demonstrated a level of watercraft that suggested extensive training in riverine operations. The enemy was using techniques that were taught in advanced military schools, not learned through guerrilla fighting experience alone. As they watched, the target reached a small island covered with thick palm trees and dense undergrowth. Instead of climbing onto the land, the figure remained in the water while carefully examining the island's perimeter. After several minutes, they selected a specific point and silently pulled themselves up onto the bank. Williams adjusted his scope and confirmed what Morrison had suspected. "Sir, I can see weapon movement. Looks like a long rifle. Possibly .50 caliber based on the size and profile." The sniper had established a hidden position among the palm trees, with clear lines of sight toward two major routes used by coalition patrols. From this elevation, an experienced marksman could engage targets at ranges exceeding 1,500 meters, making counter-sniper operations extremely difficult. Morrison realized they were witnessing the enemy's preparation for an ambush. Somewhere, probably within the next few hours, coalition forces would be traveling through the sniper's kill zone without knowing they were being hunted. The SEAL team had to make a choice: attempt to capture or eliminate the target now, or try to warn the potential victims while maintaining surveillance. Thompson intercepted a radio transmission that made the decision urgent. "Commander, we've got a Marine convoy moving up Highway 1 toward Checkpoint Delta. ETA 25 minutes, and their route takes them directly through this area." Morrison's tactical training kicked in immediately. The Marines were heading into a trap, and his team was the only unit in position to prevent a massacre. However, engaging the sniper prematurely might allow him to escape and set up somewhere else for future attacks. "Williams, can you make the shot from your current position?" The sniper studied the target through his scope, calculating distance, wind conditions, and angle of engagement. "Affirmative, sir. Range is 847 meters. Minimal wind drift. Target is stationary. I have a clear shot." Morrison weighed his options quickly. They could eliminate the threat immediately, but doing so would reveal their position and potentially compromise their ability to track other enemy snipers in the area. However, the alternative was allowing Marines to drive into a carefully prepared ambush. "Take the shot," Morrison ordered. Williams adjusted his breathing, controlled his heartbeat, and began applying pressure to his trigger. Through his scope, he could see the enemy sniper making final adjustments to his rifle position. In seconds, the target would be ready to engage the approaching convoy. At the moment Williams was about to fire, something unexpected happened. The enemy sniper suddenly shifted position, moving with lightning speed to different cover. It was as if he had sensed the crosshairs settling on him, demonstrating the kind of battlefield awareness that only came from extensive combat experience. "Target is mobile, sir. He's moving to a secondary position." Morrison felt adrenaline surge through his system. Their quarry had just demonstrated the tactical awareness of a professional soldier, possibly someone with special operations background. This wasn't a typical insurgent fighter. They were hunting someone with training equal to their own. The enemy sniper had disappeared completely into the thick vegetation of the island. Williams swept the area with his scope, but couldn't reacquire the target. Martinez reported no thermal signature from his position, suggesting the sniper was using advanced concealment techniques to mask his heat signature. Rodriguez was monitoring radio traffic and received an urgent update. "Sir, the Marine convoy has been diverted to an alternate route due to reported IED activity on Highway 1. They won't be coming through this area." Morrison realized immediately that the diversion wasn't coincidental. Somehow, their target had known about the convoy and had been using it as bait to draw SEAL teams into the marsh. The entire operation might have been designed to eliminate special operations personnel rather than regular patrol units. "All positions, be advised we may be the primary target here. This could be a trap designed specifically for us." The tactical situation had shifted dramatically. Instead of hunting the sniper, Morrison's team might have walked into an ambush designed by someone who understood special operations procedures. The enemy had demonstrated knowledge of coalition patrol routes, response times, and tactical methods that suggested access to intelligence sources. Williams maintained his scope on the island while trying to detect any sign of movement or muzzle flash. The vegetation was thick enough to conceal a squad of fighters, and the elevation provided multiple firing positions with excellent fields of fire toward the SEAL positions. Thompson received an encrypted communication that confirmed Morrison's worst fears. "Sir, intelligence reports suggest we may be dealing with a former Special Forces operator who has been training insurgent fighters in advanced sniper techniques. Possible background in Eastern European or Russian special operations." Morrison absorbed this information and began reassessing their tactical approach. If their target had Special Forces training, he would understand how SEAL teams operated and might be using that knowledge against them. Standard counter-sniper tactics might not be effective against someone who had learned the same techniques. Martinez suddenly detected movement through his thermal scope. "Commander, I've got multiple heat signatures moving through the water approximately 1,200 meters southeast of our position. At least 3 individuals, possibly more." The tactical picture was becoming clearer and more dangerous. Morrison's team hadn't just located one enemy sniper. They had stumbled into what appeared to be a coordinated operation involving multiple highly trained fighters. The lone ghost sniper might have been bait to draw special operations teams into a larger trap. Morrison made a rapid tactical decision. "All units prepare for immediate extraction. We're going to bound back to our insertion point and call for air support." As the team began their withdrawal movement, Williams reported new activity from the island. "Sir, I can see weapon signatures, multiple rifles, and they appear to be setting up interlocking fields of fire." Rodriguez coordinated the extraction movement while Thompson called for immediate close air support from any available aircraft in the area. The SEAL team had gone from hunters to hunted in a matter of minutes, and their survival now depended on speed and superior tactics. The withdrawal through the marsh required all of their training and experience. Moving quickly while maintaining security was difficult in terrain that offered limited cover and restricted their mobility. Morrison knew that their enemy would try to cut off their escape route and force them into a prepared kill zone. Williams provided overwatch as the team moved, using his scope to scan for threats while the others bounded from cover to cover. The sound of their movement through the water and vegetation seemed impossibly loud in the tense silence of the marsh. Thompson established contact with a Marine Corps AH-1 Cobra gunship that was approximately 8 minutes out from their position. The aircraft was armed with 20mm cannon and Hellfire missiles, capable of devastating any enemy position once the SEAL team could provide target coordinates. As they reached their boats, Martinez detected incoming fire from multiple positions. Bullets snapped through the air above their heads, demonstrating the precision and coordination of their attackers. The enemy had indeed been waiting for them to attempt extraction. Morrison ordered immediate suppressive fire while the team loaded their equipment. Williams engaged targets on the island with his sniper rifle, while Rodriguez and Jackson used their assault rifles to keep enemy heads down. The firefight was intense, but brief, with both sides demonstrating professional marksmanship skills. The Cobra gunship arrived on station and immediately engaged the enemy positions with its 20mm cannon. The devastating firepower of the aircraft forced the enemy snipers to abandon their prepared positions and seek cover in the deeper parts of the marsh. Thompson coordinated with the aircraft to provide close air support for their extraction while maintaining communications with their command post. Additional units were being scrambled to surround the area and prevent the enemy fighters from escaping. As their boats pulled away from the shore, Morrison watched the marsh through his binoculars, knowing that their ghost sniper was still out there somewhere. The enemy had demonstrated tactical skills and planning ability that made him extremely dangerous, and this encounter had been just the beginning of what promised to be a much larger operation. Williams kept his rifle ready as they navigated through the channels toward friendly territory, scanning the banks for any sign of pursuit or additional ambush positions. The enemy had proven they could appear anywhere at any time, making every meter of their withdrawal potentially dangerous. The extraction was successful, but Morrison knew the mission was far from over. Intelligence would analyze everything they had observed and detected, building a more complete picture of the threat they were facing. The ghost sniper had revealed himself to be part of a larger, more sophisticated enemy organization than anyone had anticipated. As they reached the safety of their forward operating base, Morrison began planning their next move. The hunt would continue, but now they understood they were dealing with professionals who were every bit as skilled and dangerous as themselves. 3 days after their extraction from the marsh, Morrison's team received new intelligence that changed everything. The ghost sniper had made a critical error, one that would finally give them the opportunity they needed to end his reign of terror. A special operations intelligence analyst named Captain Sarah Chen had been studying every piece of data collected during their encounter. Using advanced computer modeling and pattern recognition software, she had identified something that human observation had missed. The enemy sniper was following a specific routine, one that was predictable if you knew what to look for. Morrison studied the analysis report in the briefing room at their forward operating base. Chen had discovered that the sniper always returned to the same general area every 72 hours, apparently to resupply and receive new orders. The pattern was subtle, but satellite imagery confirmed movement signatures at regular intervals in a section of the marsh they hadn't previously investigated. "The target area is here," Chen said, pointing to an aerial photograph of a partially flooded palm grove approximately 4 kilometers from where the SEAL team had made contact. "Our analysis suggests this is a cache site and possibly a communication point with other cells operating in the region." Rodriguez examined the terrain features carefully, noting the defensive advantages the location offered. The palm grove was surrounded by water on 3 sides, with only one narrow approach through shallow channels. Anyone trying to reach it would be exposed to observation and fire from multiple directions. Williams studied the topographical maps and identified several potential shooting positions that would allow long-range observation of the target area. "Sir, if we can get into position before he arrives, we should be able to establish overwatch and wait for him to come to us." Morrison appreciated the irony. After days of being hunted by their quarry, they now had the opportunity to turn the tables and become the hunters again. However, the intelligence also revealed disturbing information about the scope of the enemy operation. Chen continued her briefing with details that made Morrison's blood run cold. Communications intercepts suggest the sniper we've been tracking is actually the instructor for a larger training program. Intelligence believes he's been teaching advanced marksmanship and fieldcraft to insurgent fighters throughout the province. Thompson processed this information and its implications immediately. Sir, if that's accurate, eliminating this target could significantly degrade enemy capabilities across the entire theater of operations. The mission had evolved from hunting a single sniper to destroying what appeared to be an enemy training facility. Morrison realized they needed additional resources and support to ensure success while minimizing risk to his team. Major General Patterson, the regional commander, authorized a larger operation involving multiple SEAL teams, Marine reconnaissance units, and close air support. However, Morrison's team would lead the assault because of their knowledge of the target's methods and the terrain. The planning phase took 18 hours, with every detail carefully coordinated to ensure success. The enemy sniper had demonstrated professional-level skills and tactical awareness, meaning the operation would need to be flawless to prevent his escape. Morrison's team would insert at dawn, moving through a different section of the marsh to avoid the routes they had used previously. A second SEAL team would establish blocking positions to prevent escape toward the north, while Marine snipers would cover the eastern approaches from elevated positions. Rodriguez coordinated with the boat crews who would provide transportation through the complex waterways. The insertion would be conducted using special operations craft capable of operating in extremely shallow water while maintaining stealth characteristics. Williams received additional equipment for the mission, including a .50 caliber sniper rifle capable of precise shots at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. If their target attempted to engage from extreme distance, Williams would be ready to respond with overwhelming firepower. The night before the operation, Morrison gathered his team for final preparations and a detailed review of the tactical plan. Each man understood his role and the critical importance of perfect execution. There would be no second chances if the ghost sniper escaped again. Martinez checked and rechecked his medical supplies, knowing that casualties were likely in an operation of this complexity. Thompson verified all communications equipment and established backup frequencies in case primary systems were compromised during the assault. At 0400 hours, the teams began their movement toward the target area. Morrison felt the familiar mixture of anticipation and controlled fear that preceded every high-stakes mission. They were about to face an enemy who had proven himself to be extremely dangerous and tactically sophisticated. The boat ride through the dark waterways took nearly 2 hours, navigating carefully to avoid making noise that might alert their target. Morrison used night vision equipment to scan the banks for any signs of enemy observation posts or early warning systems. Rodriguez guided their craft through channels barely wide enough for passage, using his intimate knowledge of the terrain to find routes that provided maximum concealment. The water was deeper than during their previous mission, the result of seasonal flooding that had changed the tactical landscape significantly. As they approached the insertion point, Thompson received confirmation that all supporting elements were in position. The Marine snipers had established overwatch positions with clear fields of fire, while the second SEAL team had successfully infiltrated their blocking positions without detection. Williams was the first to spot their objective through his scope as dawn light began filtering through the palm trees. The cache site was exactly where intelligence had predicted, a small island with evidence of regular human activity, including concealed supply containers and communication equipment. Morrison ordered the team into final approach positions, using hand signals to coordinate their movement through the last 500 meters of water and vegetation. The sound discipline was perfect. 8 highly trained operators moving through difficult terrain without making a sound that would alert their quarry. The thermal imaging equipment detected human activity on the island approximately 30 minutes after the team reached their positions. A single individual was moving through the palm grove, apparently conducting routine checks of the cached supplies and equipment. Through his high-powered scope, Williams confirmed their target. The enemy sniper was indeed present, and he was armed with what appeared to be a custom-built rifle system optimized for extreme-range precision shooting. The weapon alone was worth studying for intelligence purposes. Morrison made the tactical decision to observe and wait rather than engaging immediately. They needed to confirm whether additional enemy personnel were present and identify any escape routes that might have been prepared. Their quarry had proven too clever to be caught without careful planning. The sniper spent nearly an hour at the cache site, conducting what appeared to be routine maintenance on his equipment and weapons systems. His movements were methodical and professional, suggesting military training and extensive field experience. Rodriguez detected movement in the water approximately 800 meters from their position. Additional personnel were approaching the island, using small boats to navigate through the palm groves. The enemy operation was larger than intelligence had estimated. Williams counted at least 4 additional fighters arriving at the cache site, each carrying military-style weapons and equipment. Through his scope, he could observe what appeared to be a training session, with the primary sniper demonstrating advanced shooting techniques to his students. Thompson intercepted radio communications between the enemy fighters, confirming that this was indeed a training facility for insurgent snipers. The intercepted conversations revealed plans for coordinated attacks against coalition forces throughout the province. Morrison realized they had discovered something far more significant than a single enemy sniper. This was the nerve center for insurgent sniper operations across the entire region, and destroying it would save countless coalition lives. The tactical situation required immediate action before the enemy fighters could disperse and establish new training sites elsewhere. Morrison coordinated with his supporting elements and prepared to initiate the assault. Williams engaged the primary target first, his .50 caliber round striking the enemy sniper center mass at a range of 1,247 meters. The shot was perfect, eliminating their primary threat before he could react or take cover. The assault erupted simultaneously from multiple directions as the supporting SEAL team and Marine snipers engaged the remaining targets. The coordinated fire was devastating, preventing any organized resistance from the enemy fighters. Martinez and Jackson moved forward to secure the cache site, while Rodriguez and Thompson established security around the perimeter. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned, with no casualties among the assault force. Williams continued providing overwatch as the team searched the island for intelligence materials and additional weapons. They discovered detailed maps of coalition patrol routes, communications equipment, and enough ammunition to supply sniper operations for months. Thompson coordinated the destruction of enemy equipment while preserving materials with intelligence value. The cache contained detailed information about insurgent networks and planned operations that would be invaluable for future counterterrorism efforts. The extraction was conducted without incident, with close air support available to suppress any enemy reinforcement attempts. As they moved away from the target area, Morrison felt satisfaction at having eliminated a significant threat to coalition forces. The intelligence recovered from the cache site led to the identification and destruction of 6 additional insurgent training facilities throughout the province. The Ghost Snipers network had been completely dismantled, significantly reducing enemy capabilities in the region. Williams was credited with one of the longest successful sniper shots in SEAL team history, a precision engagement that had prevented their dangerous quarry from escaping to fight another day. The mission became a textbook example of how patience, planning, and superior tactics could overcome even the most skilled enemy operators. Rodriguez received a Navy Cross for his exceptional navigation skills and tactical awareness during both the reconnaissance and assault phases of the operation. His ability to move the team through dangerous terrain while maintaining stealth had been critical to mission success. Thompson's communications work earned him a Bronze Star, as his coordination with supporting elements had enabled the complex multi-unit operation to proceed without confusion or friendly fire incidents. His interception of enemy communications had provided vital intelligence about the scope of the threat. Martinez and Jackson were both awarded Silver Stars for their courage during the assault phase, moving forward under fire to secure critical intelligence materials while ensuring no enemy fighters could escape to warn other cells. Morrison received the Distinguished Service Cross for his leadership throughout the operation. From the initial reconnaissance that identified the threat through the final assault that eliminated it. His tactical decisions had prevented significant coalition casualties while destroying a major enemy capability. The ghost sniper who had terrorized coalition forces for weeks was finally silenced, but his elimination required the combined efforts of multiple special operations teams and supporting elements. The mission demonstrated that even the most skilled individual operator could be defeated through superior planning, coordination, and teamwork. Years later, the operation would be studied in military academies as an example of how intelligence analysis, patient reconnaissance, and coordinated assault tactics could be used to eliminate high-value targets operating in complex terrain. The marshlands of the Euphrates returned to their natural quiet, no longer echoing with the crack of sniper fire. Coalition forces could once again patrol the region without fear of the ghost who had haunted them from the flooded banks, and the legend of SEAL Team 6 grew stronger with another successful mission in the war against terror.